Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was born in 1879 to a family in Württemberg, Germany. He first became interested in science when he was 5 years old and his father showed him a compass. He was fascinated by how an electric field could affect something like a compass needle, and he pursued science for the rest of his life, often building small gadgets on his own. In 1901, he received his diploma for physics from the Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. He had very good performance in physics and math during this time, even though many professors often considered him lazy. In 1802, he entered the Swiss Patent Office as an evaluator of electromechanical devices. He married in 1903 and had 3 children. However, he later divorced in 1919 and remarried in the same year in 1919. He created his theory of special relativity when he was 26 years old in 1905. This theory was based around the idea of E equals mc squared, his quintessential equation, where E is energy, m is mass, and c is the speed of light. This equation was the basis for many of his other theories as time went on and showed his interest in the idea of light, because light often became Einstein's primary fallback in many of his theories. Again, with this theory of special relativity and the other ideas that he created in 1905, which was known as his perfect year where many of his theories first came about, he showed that it was impossible to travel faster than the speed of light. He also developed the idea of relativity and the fact that space is bent and is warped by the presence of masses. This was a brand new idea to explaining Newtonian mechanics. Einstein went on to continue studying science, and from 1908 to 1914, he published numerous papers about subjects such as why the sky is blue and the bending of light due to gravity. His theory of general relativity, which was published in 1916, was proven in 1919 when a solar eclipse occurred and allowed scientists to observe the bending of light due to that eclipse. In 1927 and all through the 1920s, as a matter of fact, he studied the idea of a unified theory and worked with men like Niels Bohr in order to develop quantum mechanics and other such sciences. He received the Nobel Prize in 1922 for his work in the photoelectric effect, which was actually the only practical science that Einstein had done at this point, which is why he won the prize. As in 1933, Einstein immigrated to the US and became a staunch advocate for nuclear development at the time, for he was in fear of Hitler gaining a nuclear weapon. However, after World War II, he worked for nuclear disarmament in an attempt to keep the world safe from what was actually based almost entirely on his theories. The E equals mc squared was the basis of all nuclear weapons. In 1955, he made his last act and signed the Russell-Einstein Manifesto, warning of the danger of nuclear weapons and making his final act towards disarmament. He died the same year. His brain was taken in the autopsy 7 hours after his death and is currently stored at the National Museum for Health and Medicine and is currently being studied by scientists today. Einstein is known as the quintessential scientist of our time or any time. He was one of the greatest men who created one of the most basic foundations for science that we know, and he will always be remembered as such.